here's how I made the map for the game. I eventually released on Steam. The game's called Open Fishing XL. Here's the map for it, the little area thing. Ignore the demon fish in the background. So, I'll be explaining in this video how I can make the map. This is all like Postmortem series where I go over like each element I've done to make the game. And last episode was about the prototype, and then I moved on to making like a map, so I can like make a Steam page and stuff like that, because I heard at the time, I think, that it's good to do that early. It is actually really good to do that early. You should get your Steam page up as soon as possible. And yeah, so essentially, I didn't know that much about making like a big open world back when I did this. The game has a decently sized open world. It's like a couple square kilometer map. Which is pretty big for a fishing game. So essentially the whole map is just this one big mesh. It's kind of caveman build in how I did it. I just made a big mesh and then I put it underwater. I actually just lowered it down a little bit even, and I made the water by just adding where is the water? Oh, the water is on this thing, I think. I made all the objects on the map just a child of the big mesh. Here you can see that making a game isn't that like, you don't have to do it perfectly. Like, this game got released, it was finished, it was fun, people like it. I built like a little audience because of it. Hopefully you're watching this right now if you played the game and you can see how I've made all of it. So like, it doesn't have to be that complicated. Like the water is just a really big plane of like water texture stuff. A fairly random. It's just like one. The tiling isn't even square. I don't know why I did this. I'm assuming I had a reason for it, so I'm gonna leave it like that, not mess with it. I think it's probably to make it look slightly more stretched, so it's like waves. I don't know, man. Like, it's not that deep to really make a map. You just have to put down a lot of things. I realize now that I've been stupid when making this game, and it was fine. Like, alright, so my mistake was I didn't give any of these objects LODs, so they're just always all rendering. If you know anything about game dev, you know this is not the best, but the game runs fine. It works. So in my books, it's fine. It runs on a potato. Who cares? So essentially, if your game is pretty low poly, you don't need to use LODs. I still recommend you use LODs, don't get me wrong here. But you don't need to do everything perfectly when you're making your first game. You can mess up in places and you don't have to go like, oh no, I have to fix all of it. I didn't even realize I messed this up until now. Which, not great, but it works. It's out. It's a fun game. There isn't many bugs. Like, that's the important stuff. You know, you just want to get your game finished. And if you want to learn more about like, how to get your game finished, you should like and subscribe so you see more of my beautiful videos with my Skeletor looking face, because I'm way too skinny. I checked my BMI today. I need to eat more food. It's hard, okay? But I do look a lot like Skeletor, I feel, especially with the lighting, because I'm using like this big white light. I don't know, it makes me pale. Anyway, me looking like Skeletor aside, got a good jawline though, Skeletor. So, you know, it was not that bad. Essentially, I actually started with a couple of small areas when making the map originally, because I want to get my Steam page up, as I said before, I think. I'm pretty sure I've already said that, but yeah, so like I started with this area here, and then over here, slight spoilers for the game. I started with this area here as well, and I just placed down a whole bunch of trees and like meshes, and oh, what's the lighting doing here? Oh, that doesn't usually happen when the game is running, so it's fine. Flickering lights. Anyway, hopefully you didn't get a seizure from that. So I made like this little area, and I made some more areas. The assets are like, there's just a couple assets. Like, let's see how many assets I have for the map. I have, it's like a couple folders. Yeah, it's like all these folders have like less than 10 things in it. I'm pretty sure most of them do. I got like this many trees, and most of these are like copies of the same thing. So it kind of cuts off, but you can see it's like 2 rows of stuff. There you go. Look. So essentially, it doesn't have to be that deep. That's kind of what I'm trying to show you with this whole series. Like, it doesn't have to be that deep, fam. Like, you can just poop out a fairly simple game, and that's what you should be doing with your first game. Because if you're trying to make your dream game your first one, it's gonna be ass, and it's not gonna be as good as your dream game could be. So I want you to wait with that great idea and first make an easy idea. Like, for me, it was a fishing game. I knew how to make a fishing game because I already did the prototype, and then I was like, man, this wasn't that hard. I can just add stuff to this, and then the game is a game. So I did that for 8 months, and then it was done. And at first, I like released it after 2 months of development into early access, and then 6 more months of development, and then game was out. Like out of early access as well. So we'll get more into like the early access updates, but this is all stuff I did before release. And essentially, like, this boat wasn't there. The trees were way uglier before. I did an update of like the graphics a little bit recently. And like lots of stuff, it wasn't there when this game launched. Which is kind of what I'm getting at. You know, like, you don't have to have everything immediately for your first game. You just have to have it to be like fun and basically just make a minimal viable product, but like actually viable. So don't make like an asset flip or anything. Make like a good game, but make it simple. Keep it small. Keep the map like this is a sizable map. Spoilers for if you want to draw it yourself, which you can do in the game. Yeah, so like we have this map here. It's not that big. It's like fairly big, but it's not that huge. So it's very manageable to make this. Currently I made my map in my other game, Open Hunting, way too big. It's 1,000 by 1,000 kilometers. Kind of ridiculous. Working on it. So stuff like that, like, you shouldn't be doing that in your first game. If I did that on this game, it would never have been done. So, you know, problems with development occur. Oh yeah, by the way, I placed each of these trees myself, like by hand. This isn't the Unity terrain. If you are gonna make a game, please use Unity terrains and don't do what I did here and like use a mesh. It's kind of janky. Sometimes it could be okay to use a mesh, but like only if you know that's the better option for you. For me, I'm kind of feel I should have used the Unity terrain because then I could have used grass. That wasn't just like, oh, look at my grass. It's ridiculous. Yeah, we go. We selected grass. It's like, it's just a little plain thingy. It actually like goes over the floor here. Oh, the game's kind of a mess. Don't get me wrong, but like in a good way. In like in a like it's done and it's out and you can play it, but it's like not this perfect glorious thing, which it was never gonna be. And I marketed it like barely, so of course it's not gonna sell that well. But I did get it done, and I have a little audience now, and I'm better at everything that I learned from this game. That's the real goal with your first game. You shouldn't be trying to make $1 billion off your first game. You should be trying to make like 2,000, which is actually above average, you know? So that's really what you should be looking to do. Yeah, like, just don't make $1 billion, make a couple thousand, maybe, dollars. Goes well. And of course, like, I'll get more into like marketing stuff in another video. Check out how to market your game for more marketing stuff. He's way better than me at marketing. He's basically very good. All my stuff for him. And yeah, the modeling the assets is another thing I want to touch on. It's basically just it was really easy, essentially. These trees used to just be blobs. Or like these bushes. I mean, they used to just be big balls of bush. People didn't really get they were bushes. But they made the map look prettier. Or at least less empty. And that they did their job. Essentially, you just want to make stuff that does its job. That's your goal. You just want to make it like good enough. And actually like good enough, not like good enough, but like fulfilling its purpose. That's what you're going for with your first game. You don't want to make the best thing ever because you can't do that yet. I couldn't do that yet. Look at this. I made the map a big plane. That's ridiculous. So stuff like this is basically fine to mess up. Essentially, like you should be messing up some of this stuff. I'm sure if you go out and make your first game, You look back on it and think like, oh no, why didn't I do that? And that's like completely fine, because if your game is done, then it fulfilled its purpose. Then you're good. And preferably if people like it, of course, too. But, you know, that also comes with practice. Like, if your first game gets negative reviews, that's like, sure, like, you should make it better and, like, fix it. But that isn't, like, the worst thing that could have happened. You could have also had no reviews or not finished it. That's the worst thing. Not finishing your game. Therefore, you should always finish stuff. Or not always, I suppose. But you should finish stuff if it's, like, something you can finish more. Yeah, it's kind of it's a better way to put it. Textures are all from textures.com back in the day when I could actually use that without paying them money. And yeah, so you don't have to be that good at modeling. Like, the game kind of looks like ass, and it looked more ass before. So people still played it, you know, and that's really your goal of your first game. It's not like making the Mona Lisa, because no one starts with Mona Lisa, because only one dude painted that, and it was like his bajillionth painting, I'm sure. It just, stuff takes time to get good at. And that's like really what you're gonna keep in mind. Like, you're gonna start off shit, and then you're gonna get better and better and better. And that's the whole point of the series, really. Just me explaining where I've messed up and how it was still fine because I put it the game and people liked it. That's awesome. Like, I'm sitting at like 87% positive reviews. That's sick. So yeah, that's mainly what I did for the map. I just placed down everything by hand. I just took ages, but it worked, you know. I recommend not trying to do something too complicated with your map. Like, don't make it too big or too high concept. You want to make it like doable. You know, this is literally just like a swampy, like foresty area. You get another swamp over here. But yeah, like it's cool. Yeah. So I hope you got some more insight on how I made the map for this in this video. Hope you're gonna get an idea of how you could tackle something like this yourself. Essentially, just make a big plane in Blender, or you use Unity terrains, which I recommend, and you put stuff on it, and that's really just it. Yeah. So this isn't like a tutorial of like how to use Unity terrains, like how to place stuff on a map. You can figure it out. You should have figured it out already, making your pre-first game you're gonna put on Steam, which is basically like a little game jammy thing, because if you're making your first game, you're probably not gonna finish it. Like, I made God knows how many games before releasing this one. Been doing this for like 5 years. So 6 now, actually. But I mean, a lot of it was messing around. So you can do this a lot faster than 6 years. Don't worry. I'm sure I feel like 1 year is probably a realistic time from like knowing nothing to knowing how to put game on Steam, including like mess ups and getting distracted along the way. So that was the video. I repeated some stuff, I'm sure. But yeah. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something from it. I hope you got some value from it. Like and subscribe, of course. And goodbye.